Hey, everybody, it's me. It's just me tonight. Ben, too old. What did he say? Too old, too fat, and too tired? No, maybe he didn't say tired. Anyway, he's not joining, so it's just me tonight. Anyway, but people in the chat, and Ben might watch in the chat and throw some stuff in there to answer the question of tonight's show. It's a very focused show for the most part. We got a couple of tangents, but for the most part, we're very focused on who should the Packers draft in the first round. And we will get to that in just a moment. But before we get to that, let's just say this. Don't forget, on Thursday night, first round, we do this on the draft. Some people don't like the draft. Lots of people, we've gotten into it. We do a show on draft night and we hang out and we talk. And maybe we even get some people to join us again this year. We usually do get some folks to join us. We're going to reach out, see if they're available. And I will say, friends, if you're out there just going to be watching the draft, you can join us and hang out with us on our show while you watch the draft, just like we've done another year. So come on, if you're home, if you got other stuff going on, I get it. But if you're going to be at home watching the draft, come on, man. Come on, join us and hang out with us. We'll have a couple of drinks. We'll see what the Packers end up doing. We'll get really excited. Hopefully, stay excited once they pick. And we'll see what, we'll see how it all shakes out, because that's part of the NFL draft, the excitement of it. And we all like it. That tune in. So we have that again, first round. We do that. We'll probably do like a Friday show at some point, or maybe we'll just wait after the first round to recap the rest of it once the draft is complete. So I'm not sure about our full draft coverage because it conflicts a little bit with my son's play. So we got to figure that out too. By the way, Mr. Green, man, that kid, we got to see a parent preview last night. Damn. Kid's got more talent than I ever did. And he is awesome. And he is a surprise piece to the play. So there's a little precursor for you that are going to come and watch it, family members. Watch out for how sneaky good Evan is, and then he'll surprise you at the end. Okay. So the Packers need a draft in the first round. Who, says you? I have one player in particular. Actually, I don't know. I have thoughts on what the Packers should do with their first two picks, and I think that's going to be crazy, but I'll save that combo. I'll save that combination for when we're talking about leading up to the first round pick, because there's lots of time to talk in there. But let's see. Oh, Zero's here. JJ's here. Final week of A-Rod being on the squad. I'm not worried about A-Rod. We'll celebrate that when it's all over with, man. But I get you. I'm ready to be done with them too. Also, I hope they draft tight end at 15, says JJ. And JJ, that is where I'm leaning. I would ask you this. There is one player in this draft at tight end, this deep group of tight ends, who is just completely different. And that is Darnell Washington. And yes, it means the Packers have to draft another first round Georgia Bulldog. And that would be 3 years in a row that they've drafted Georgia Bulldogs in the first round. And actually, they would have drafted 4, because 2 years ago, they drafted 2 Georgia Bulldogs in the first round. Now, the nice thing for those guys is they still wear a G on their helmet, so it's not that confusing for them. But I know Ben wants Jackson Smith-Njigba, but I'm telling you, here's the thing. If you have not watched any footage on Darnell Washington yet, you need to go watch it, because I understand the skills and the tests and this and that, and Mayer looks good in those and all that. But Chris Sims did a top tight ends kind of thing about a week or so ago where he was evaluating some guys. For some reason, he put Washington at number 5. But then as he got to him and he was talking about him, he's like, well, I probably should have had him higher. And yes, you should have, Chris Sims, because he is number 1. He is the number 1 tight end, unless you're just looking for a receiving tight end, and that's Dalton Kincaid. But if you want a complete tight end that could be a superstar in this league and do everything you want a tight end to do, that is the guy you want to draft. And that's the guy the Packers need, because they don't have one, and not many teams have one. Now, if you watch some tape on the guy, you will see some things. Now, at Georgia, they didn't throw the ball a lot to him. They didn't throw the ball a lot anyway. They were run-first offense. So he's an exceptional blocker, and many people have said he's an exceptional blocker. He's a huge man. He's 260-some pounds, almost 270 pounds. 6'7", I want to say. He's a huge dude, and he's tough, and he likes to block, and he can drive block people. And the sled that they had to block on that drill, what he did, it doesn't look that impressive because it happened slow, but most other guys, as soon as they hit the sled, they got kind of stood up and couldn't move it. And he just consistently pushed it backwards with ease. So he is a monster of a man, strong and beefy and all that. We know all that. But he showed off some skills catching that one-hander as his last thing at the combine. And if you go and watch some highlight reels, and these aren't just like highlight reels, but you go and watch some of his highlights from college, he shows that athleticism to make catches with his hands, to turn his body, to adjust to the football, to make catches in traffic. Is he super elusive after he catches it? No. But is he big as hell and going to run over dudes? Yes. So on top of that, he can catch the ball well. He's good at adjusting to it. Even if he's covered, he's not covered because he's so tall and so big that is a linebacker? He might run away from linebackers. And if he doesn't, he's pretty darn fast too. He's like a 4.6 40 at the combine. So that's just the guy. I don't care what other people say. I don't care what who's talking about this tight end or Kincaid is a more polished receiver and after the catch and all. Yes, 100%. But Kincaid cannot stand up to the guy blocking. Nobody can. And John Mayer's cousin, Mike Mayer. Sorry, not Mike Myers, Mike Mayer. One thing that Chris Sims pointed out about him that he wasn't all that in love with was that he barely got separation. When he was open, when he got the ball thrown to him, a lot of times there wasn't a lot of separation, and that was in college. So at the NFL level, bigger, faster, stronger, defensive guys, the best of the best, trying to cover him. Is he going to get open? And he's a guy that's not quite as tall, not quite as athletic as Washington is. Is he going to be able to make those plays when guys are hanging on him? Or is he going to be covered? So even though he's a good blocker, yes, this and that, I think he was slower in his 40 than Washington as well. He's not the guy. He's not the guy. Now, there's one other scenario if the Packers think they could. I don't know. My crazy scenario is they somehow get 2 picks in the first round and they go with 2 first-round tight ends, and then it'd blow my mind. It'd be like, because if they drafted Kincaid, I didn't even save it. I can't save it. It was too good of a thought. If they drafted Kincaid and Washington in the first round, oh my God. Jordan Love's going to be so happy, and the Packers they'd light him up, and they'd be set for tight end for such a long time. Okay. All right, let's get to some of your comments, because Ben's probably going to tell me I'm dumb. All right, how we doing? We actually we need 2 tight ends. You're right. So why don't we get him in the first round? Let's do it. Let's do it, Goody. Okay. Ben says Washington looks slow and lumbering when he runs routes, but after the catch on tape, doesn't match his combine stats. Well, I don't know about that. Go watch some more of it. Lumber a little bit, but I don't care. Lumber and run over some dudes. Georgia Bulldog, I'm telling you, there are like 5 good tight ends. A lot of people talking about how many good tight ends there are. But what I'm telling you is, let's see. What do you got here? But they ain't all great, but better than Davis. Yes, 100%. They're all better than the guys the Packers have, except for Josiah DeGuara, who has his role. He's not going to be the blocking tight end. He's not going to be at the end of the line. He's not going to be necessarily the downfield guy, although he could play that role to some extent. Josiah DeGuara could. So if you get the blocking tight end, you could move DeGuara around, and he could do so. I mean, he's got the ability to play. He's not going to like stretch the field, but generally you're not asking your tight ends to do that. Is he shifty? Is he good after the catch? Is he all those other things? So yeah, I could see that. But you got to get the blocking tight end. So as much as everybody loves Dalton Kincaid, you got to let somebody else take him unless you're planning to get both. And you're going to make a big move to get them both because the Packers need some tight ends. Look, we haven't had good tight ends in forever. We talked about it a couple weeks ago. We also talked about how much in need the Packers have been at tight end, how bad they've been at recycling tight ends for years and years and years now. So many of the last how many years, picking up these free agent guys that didn't work out, were towards the end of their career, lost a step, whatever, were problem guys, like all kinds of stuff, right? Bad hands, maybe good hands with bad blockers. pretty good blockers, but old. Like, no, it is time. You have a crop. But one thing I did notice when I looked at all those tight ends, I watched the whole Sims thing. I looked at other guys myself. I watched tape on guys like Tucker Kraft because a lot of people are like, well, maybe he just get Tucker Kraft late. I get it. I get it. Totally could. But there's a big difference. There's a distinct drop off from Washington to Kraft. There's a distinct drop off from Washington in most of his skills to a bunch of guys. Washington is the guy. They have to get him. The Green Bay Packers, with this offense, with this new quarterback, with what they need, with the holes, with how they need to feature the running game, with how they have to play this year and probably should have played for the last couple years, they need to draft Darnell Washington. I don't care, whatever it takes. They have to get him. They just have to. And if they do, he has by far, even as solid as a lot of these other guys, Laporta and other guys are great. I get it. By far has the highest ceiling of any of them. 5 years from now, he's going to be the best tight end in the NFL. Just saying. This is a can't miss, don't miss move. That's what I say. All right. What do you guys say? Okay. Kind of like Deguara. We like Deguara. Deguara is great, and Deguara needs to play and be on the field a lot. We all agree about that. Ben says, no, they don't. No, they don't. Yes, they do, Ben. I'm telling you, man. You got to come on. Matt LaFleur loves tight ends. He's talked about it. Now he has a quarterback who will throw to tight ends. Now he has the ability to have tight ends on the field and do more with them and not just have buddies on the field and run certain plays for them because I want to throw a touchdown to my buddy. No. We're going to use tight ends the way they're meant to be used. And we're going to have diversity with the tight end group. And we're going to have guys that have multiple skills so you don't always know what's going on. It's going to be fantastic. Need one of these three, Meyer, Washington, or Kraft. Kraft, Kraft is fine. But if you watch the film on him, there's a drop-off substantially in his skill set and what he can do versus what Washington can do. And Washington is way ahead of Meyer as well. Meyer, Mayer, I don't care what his name is. Whatever his name is, I don't want him. He's not the guy. JJ, Washington, and Laporta or Musgrave. Okay. I can see Musgrave. I could even see Laporta. He's fine. He's solid. But again, he's pretty much kind of probably what he's going to be. Washington could, oh man. One thing I'll say, if you watch some of Washington's tape, some of the plays Georgia ran are some of the plays and some of the patterns and routes that he's going to run or would run in the Packers offense. Okay. So those are all good things. Is he ever going to be the guy that you're trying to stretch the field or stretch the seam with? Not too often. No. Could he do it at times? Sure. Because he's so damn big and he's fast enough. But he's also a guy, which is exactly what we've talked about the last how many years, that when the Packers have certain guys in the game the last few years, you knew what they were going to do. If Big Dog was in there and, lined up tight, is he going to run up the seam? Nobody's worried about that. If Robert Tunyon's lined up tight, is anybody worried about them running off of Robert Tonyan? Hell no. The only one to be worried about running off of Robert Tonyan would be if they called that play and as the running back with the ball, he'd be worried. And I like Robert Tonyan. And Robert Tonyan has great hands, and he's an incredible receiver. But he's not a good blocker. And he falls down after the catch. I know. Because I fell down after the catch all the time when I played. So I get it, Robert Tonyan. I get it. But that's why we need other dudes. That's why you went to the Bears. That's why we happen here. All right. Ben wants... He's still stuck on Jackson Smith and Jigba. And that's fine, Ben. But I will say this. I think there are guys on the roster. I think Bo Melton could fill that role. I think between Bo Melton and let's say maybe you did pick up Kincaid. Maybe the Packers are just dialed into the tight ends and everybody else is looking elsewhere. And the Packers see an opportunity to get two top tight ends that fill roles early. I could see him doing it. And trust me, I hope Washington falls. I would love to see if they can get him in the second round. I don't know that that's going to happen. And they need him more than they need Dalton Kincaid. But Jackson Smith-Njigba is, there's a lot of good stuff about him. But I still think Bo Melton could fill in and play that role as a receiver. And then you can find some other dudes too. They could trade back. They could do some other things. Right. Bring it up. Wasn't Washington the number one tight end, or Washington wasn't the number one tight end at Georgia? David, you're correct. He wasn't, but he was the guy who is going to come out next year, who was apparently the number one tight end. That guy is projected to be a top 10 pick. So it doesn't mean that he wasn't exceptionally good. Plus, Washington has a size and blocking and all of it to go along with it. So anyway, I'm just telling you, go watch some tape on the guy. He didn't get as many opportunities. He didn't get as many other things. All that took place, but he has the ability. Just watch the abilities. You can see the skills and ability. He can block. He can catch. He can adjust to the ball. I'm just telling you, just go watch it. Is he super agile after the catch? No. But is he good enough after the catch? Yes. And better than most of the guys the Packers have had at tight end after the catch? Yes. For many years. Probably for most of the 100 years of the Green Bay Packers, actually. Should take a breath in there. All right. Last one from Ben. Says round 1, Jackson Smith-Njigba. Round 2, Musgrave. Round 3, Kraft. 3 weapons for love. I get it. And that would be okay. But there's one guy that's going to be like the best tight end in the league in 4 or 5 years, and that's Washington. Okay. With young QB, sketchy line all around, or blocking tight end might be smarter pick than downfield threat. But if they can't get the tight end they really want, don't reach with an early pick. I don't know, Rick. I think this is... I don't think it's a reach. If you look at the guys, these guys don't come around that often. Guys of this size, with that much speed, with that much strength, is just a unique human being. So I don't think it's a reach to take a unique human being that could potentially fill all the gaps and be this all-around usage guy that you could have. And I understand the argument about we could get some good tight ends or good players. Okay. I'm telling you right now, none of them are going to be nearly as dominant of blockers as him. And the Packers need a dominant blocking tight end. And Mercedes Lewis was not a dominant blocking tight end the last few years, maybe earlier in his career, but not the last few years. Just imagine what they could potentially do with that. There is the idea to trade back. Yes, 100%. Trade back, more picks. I get it. And Ben said it too. A lot of this draft's kind of weird. It's more second-round talent. Nobody really jumps off that's going to be a superstar in general. But I don't know. I don't know. Go and watch him again. Just watch him again before the draft, then come back to me with your comments next week and tell me I'm crazy, or tell me, well, maybe you're onto something there. Maybe they should go for that kid. We'll see. I stand by the statement, though. After I looked at everybody, looked at all those other guys, looked at him, looked at what's different, he's different. And he's the guy the Packers should draft. Okay. And then again, the Packers, they could totally sidewind us. They could go crazy and draft a tackle or an offensive lineman or defense. Maybe they'll draft a defensive lineman again. Who the hell knows? We never know what Goody's thinking because nobody can. But that's my pick for the first round. Darnell Washington. Actually, I want him to trade in and get 2 tight ends in the first round. And they blow my mind and they blow me away. And they blow the NFL away if they had that. But we'll see. We'll see. Part of the reason I say that, to do that, is because while Romeo Doubs is nice, he's not a game-breaking type receiver. You have one, Christian Watson. You can mix in the other receivers, but think about that lineup with, like Ben talked about it, 3 tight ends, Christian Watson, and a running back on the field. You can do a lot of different stuff with that, especially with those type of guys, with a really skilled receiving tight end, really versatile kind of guy like DeGuara, and then a monster blocking tight end who also has abilities. And then Christian Watson, like scaring the crap out of everybody. And then, of course, Aaron Jones most of the time, or AJ Dillon. Just saying, could be awesome. Be very different than watching Aaron Rodgers try to spread them out. And I know all of his buddies on the field all the time. But it could be awesome, guys. That's all I'm trying to tell you. All right. Other than that, to wrap the show, the Bucks lost the first game of their series against the Heat, and Giannis got injured, and that sucks, and all this stuff happened. But last night they hit like 51% of their 3-pointers. Pat Connaughton went crazy. All these other dudes went crazy, and Brook Lopez had no 3-pointers last night, but he had 25 points, 12 out of 17 from the field. My man Brolo is the man. He can play inside. He can shoot the threes outside. Whatever you need him to do, that's what he does for the Bucks. So they won it, even up the series, and hopefully now they settle down and dispose of the Heat quickly, so we can get to the big series of the Celtics. Why'd you come on here? I wanted the show to be over with.
Because you're talking a bunch of crap. You don't know what you're saying.
Hang on. I gotta put earphones on now to hear you.
Well, everybody else can hear me. I don't know what you're talking about. You need to calm down with this Washington talk. I've watched the film. I'm not sold.
What's that?
I'm not sold. Don't let the Combine Underwear Olympics.
It's not this Combine. I looked at the tape on the guy. It's different. I know the stats aren't there. I know this, but he's not slow. And I know the stats aren't there because he was second tight end. I know they didn't throw a lot. They didn't throw to him a lot. I know. But I'm saying, can he run every pass pattern that tight ends can run? No. But can he run the pass patterns that the Packers would want him to run? Yes. Yes.
I'm not saying I don't like him. I'm just saying, with you saying it's him or nothing, that's crazy.
I'm not saying him or nothing. I'm saying he's the right choice because he's going to be the best guy by far.
He has the highest
for what the Packers need. For what the Packers need.
He has the highest potential to be a superstar, possibly.
Yeah, 100%.
But he also has the biggest bust out of those three guys.
Oh, come on.
Listen, when I look at Meyer, I see Mark Chimera. I see a Bubba Franks. I see a guy who
slightly
better than Bubba Franks.
Great.
No, but a good blocker who can sneak out and catch. He's got good hands. He's aggressive. He plays hard.
He doesn't get much separation though. He can't get away from people.
So what?
All right.
Who gives a crap? And then when it comes to Tucker Kraft, he's, a smaller school, San Diego State, but he's got a lot of athleticism. He's got size.
The jackrabbit.
Yeah. I just think I'm just saying, don't say Washington or nothing. I mean, I think any one of those three guys would be a good pick. Not at one though. They'd have to trade down.
Right.
Further down, or take one of them with a second-round pick. I think the only one that would be there would be Kraft, but he might even be there at the third-round pick. I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it, but I also look at what the Packers want a starter, right? They want a starter, impactful starter as their first-round pick. That's what we want to see as fans of. The Packers should want that, and this guy is it. You plug him in, he plays, he starts, he holds it down the spot for as long as you want to pay him.
That's fine, but I just think that any one of those three, I think he'd be great. Like, I like Washington too. I'm just saying, it's a different type of. Any one of those three guys, I would like to have. It's fine.
All right. Well, I think there's a drop. I think there's a drop off with those other guys. I just don't think they're going to be nearly as good. That's all.
And I see potential in a couple other guys. The guy from Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't get the ball thrown to him much, but his tape looks good when he doesn't get the ball. Yeah, Schoon Mayer or Schoon something or other.
Jonathan, get out of here with this.
I'm not seeing comments, so I don't know.
Jonathan says, "What if Rodgers fails his physical?" No,
oh my
Jonathan.
God, why is he? What is he doing? Come on.
Then he can retire if he fails his physical. He can just go away.
Hey, there's one more thing.
I know everybody thinks they're going to be available in the second. I get it.
Hey, Chris Sims did his safeties, and apparently he loves both Illinois safeties.
But he also loved Darnell Savage back how many years ago too?
Yeah, that's true. But based on what he said about the two safeties, both of the safeties from Illinois, they're both guys who attack and tackle.
That's wild because the ones they have that just got in the league have been really good too. So there must be something going at those defensive backs coach at Illinois. I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah. So, I mean, the only thing is one of the guys had 13% missed tackles, but Chris Sims on the tape said it's not that he's missing. It's not like he's missing like Savage, who sucks at tackling. This guy's good at tackling. And sometimes he just misses like completely. Like he goes to take the guy's head off and then just whiffs, like Chuck Cecil style. So that could be coached out of him. You know what I mean? Like, but both of these two guys from Illinois have aggression and speed, which is better than anybody else in the safety class. So I wouldn't be upset to see a guy if based on what Chris Sims is talking about, and it looks like they're both going to be somewhere in the second round or so. So if we get a second round pick, from the Rodgers trade or whatever happens.
Yeah.
I mean, if we get a tight end, that's what I'm saying. If we get a tight end in the first round, even if we can't trade back, we get the one that we like the best, whoever it is. If they think, I actually don't want Kincaid. I mean, it's fine, but if we do get Kincaid, then we have to get somebody else later because he's more of like a Travis Kelce. I don't want a Travis Kelce. I want a Dallas Goedert, right? I want a guy who can block and catch. I want a Mark Andrews. That's what I don't want a Dallas.
Yeah.
If we didn't have Christian Watson, sure, then we want a Travis Kelce type, right? And that's why, like, Washington's fine. Like, that's the other thing that I think people need to realize. Like, even if they would draft this awesome tight end who's a receiving monster, like, what's he going to do on the Packers when they've already got Christian Watson and Romeo Doubs and and Aaron Jones, and like it's not going to be like Travis Kelce. He's not going to get the targets like Travis Kelce, at least not the first year or second year. So getting this guy who's just a great receiver and can't do anything else is a waste. Which is why I do like Washington or Meyer, whatever his name is, or Kraft. But what I'm saying is you take one of those guys in the first round. Hopefully you can trade back and pick up something later and then get them later in the round, like around 20 something. Then the second round, if you have two picks, you get a pass rusher and you get the safety. And then in the third round, then you pick up Tucker Kraft or Rice, the receiver, or Jonathan Mingo, the receiver, to be kind of like that Al Lazard type guy. That's what Jonathan Mingo would be. And then Rice is he's kind of like JSN, but not quite as, agility wise, but he's more of he's kind of a guy who doesn't get open that much either. But he catches a lot of contested catches, and he's got really good jumping up and grabbing stuff. So I don't know what anybody thinks about that. I just think that we need to get one of those tight ends, those three.
It's a big need.
Or Noah Gindorf, like as a free agent.
I mean, it's a big
undrafted free agent.
It's a big need, and I don't care. They say to not draft for need. Like I say, draft me a player you're going to put on the field.
Hey, I want to ask a question to you. Hey.
Yeah.
So this week. I don't think I've ever been more, like, not agreeing. I don't know how to say it other than I don't disagree. I just more disagreeing with Andy Herman than on two of his shows this week. One of the shows he talked about pretty much that the Packers suck and like they are definitely rebuilding and all this stuff, and how he thinks that they should blow it up and not like don't worry about drafting with need, just draft the best guy available and don't worry about filling spots and worry about
not that far away.
Worry about getting the best player. Right. That's what I agree. Like they signed back all the guys that were good. They let go, like we talked about this before, but Andy Herman on the show a couple of days ago was saying like they should just draft the best player no matter what position he is because they just want to because they have holes on the whole team and they just want to get players that are good. And now I understand they might have holes in offensive line in a little bit with Bakhtiari and Runyon Bunyan maybe leaving because he'd be a free agent after this year if they can't sign him back. And I get that stuff. So maybe take it off his line. I don't know. Whatever but he was saying stuff like that. And then today he had Ben Fennell on, and Ben Fennell was talking like he was like, I don't know what this, and he was like, I don't know what the Packers' strategy is. I don't know what their strategy is. I mean, they've got all these guys that are old that they have on contract, and then they gave Aaron Rodgers the big contract last year, and then within 1 year they decided to get rid of him, and then they got Aaron Jones, and they extended Kenny Clark and Jair Alexander and all these guys on these long contracts, and they should really not be doing that. They should be blowing it up because they don't have a chance to win. And I'm just like, it bothers me because I don't agree with either of those two takes at all. And what does Lee think? I trust Lee. What does David think? I trust David. What do you think? I trust you. I mean, I think they have a good nucleus, and they're veterans that they've kept for the most part. I don't think Preston's that great, Preston Smith, and I surely don't think Kenny Clark's that great. But Jair and Jenkins and Aaron Jones and other guys that they put money into, I think are fairly decent players that are worth the money. Well, I don't know if Jair's worth the money, but I think Jenkins is pretty decent. I don't see it as a rebuild. And Ben Fennell's like, why would they give Jenkins a contract? Why? And then they were talking about trading Jair. They're like, oh, maybe Jair should be traded. And then Ben Fennell was like, oh, they should trade Sean Gary and all this. And I'm just like, what is going on? Like, what are these guys talking about? Like Ben Fennell's talking like they just get rid of all their good trade all the good players away and start from scratch.
They must prescribe or subscribe to the thought of, Aaron Rodgers was the whole reason the Packers were any good for the last however many years.
It's the exact opposite.
I know.
He's been holding them back.
I don't know how you could watch all last season and think that was the case. It was not the case. Aaron Rodgers was terrible last year, and that's why they lost games. But we got to wrap up the show because my kids got to get to bed, and I got to get to bed. But I will say this: I think, I don't think they're that far away. I really don't. So, to Ben Fennell's point, yeah, they were desperate. They made a dumb move because they were scared. Goody was scared of sticking his neck out, even though he kind of already made his bed.
The Jordan Love pick that was the sticking your neck out.
But he was scared. He was scared to commit all the way, so he gave Rodgers the money and that other contract. Then a year later, here we are. Although it could have been worse, it's set up in a way where they could get out of it. But, I don't understand the thought of, okay, well, just because now you're getting rid of him, you should get rid of all the guys that you paid money to. That doesn't make sense. You got to have a bunch of guys to play football. That's the case, crazy. Right? Like makes no sense.
And I know Ben Fennell watches,
and it's an overreaction to the whole situation.
Right, that's what he's doing. And he's like, well, Jair had a down year, and maybe it's time to get rid of him and all this kind of stuff. But then of course Kenny Clark, he's like, I consider Kenny Clark my friend. I guess apparently Ben Fennell and Kenny Clark are buddies. Because he was like, maybe even Kenny Clark you might have to trade. And I wouldn't do it. He's so good. And I'm like, wait a minute. Andy Herman and Ben Fennell both think Kenny Clark is so good. And yet they want to trade away the whole rest of every other player that's worth anything on the team. Like, what are they talking about?
Let me say this.
It's ridiculous.
And this is coming from a person who recognizes overreacting, because I do it plenty. But when I'm talking about the Packers, but that's total overreaction about all this stuff. Like the GM is seeing it clearly. The orchestrators of this team are seeing it clearly. Like we have some strengths on the team. Yes, we have some holes. We feel good about this quarterback change, especially if we can fill some of these holes to play football a little differently on the offensive side. And then we have a stronger team overall. And we're in a division that's not like overly, no one's running away with it. You don't think the Vikings are as good as the record was last year, and the Lions are up and coming, but they lost some guys and they're going to have some bumps in the road and all this stuff too. So they're going to have to play a tougher schedule. So it's like, and the Bears ain't there. So, come on, you can't tell me if you draft a couple of decent guys, you got a really good shot at winning this division again. And then you get in the playoffs because you won the division, then anything can happen. Who knows? Come on. That's crazy talk. No way. But you're leading us down paths that are away from the topic of the show. I made my point very clear. I'll stand by it. You guys stand by your points. But if you're not a believer in Washington out there, go ahead and check out the tape again before we come on for our draft show on Thursday night. Tell me if I'm crazy, or tell me if you're starting to see what I'm seeing. It's different. He can do all the things you need him to do. And I think in 4 or 5 years, he's going to be the best tight end in the NFL.
I lost myself for a sec. I can't hear you. I think you muted yourself, or I have I don't know.
Oh, my bad. Oh, I just said some great stuff. Damn, that's right. I did.
Oh, you're muted. So it probably wasn't that good because I know you.
It was really good. I was just gonna say, look, that's all I know for this show about. Like, I'm sticking to my guns. I made my point about Washington's my guy. That's the guy I want. And in the first round, if they don't take him, I'm not going to be upset if they take one of these other good guys. That's fine. But I do think I'll stand by. I think he'll be the best tight end in the NFL in 4 or 5 years. So we'll see.
Well, I'm going to remember you said that.
And I'm not.
I'm going to remember you said that.
I'm not just measuring that by his receiving stats. Okay. I mean, he's not going to have as many touchdowns and yards as some of these other guys that are receiving only tight ends and featured that way. But the best all-around tight end, as you evaluate the position, 4 or 5 years down the road, he will be that. I'll stand by it. But if they draft Njigba or they draft somebody else, I don't care. That's cool. I'm good with it. Lee says here, he give you a thing here. Green Bay is not in a rebuild, not even close. We are set up pretty decent, and it would not be surprised if we're in the playoff mix late season. Yeah, well, I think we can win the division, Lee.
That's right.
I think so too.
That's the way it is.
JJ says, I hate this only 2 D linemen front when we get rolling. Yep, I got you. You're right. We need to go 3. We got to play some actual 3-4 defense. Barry's got to adjust if he wants to stick around. Packers got to run the ball more. It's gonna be interesting. But in order to run the ball more, they need some decent blocking on the edge as well, which is why that blocking tight end is gonna be so critical. And a guy that's gonna start right away, 100%. All right, I gotta go. You guys stay good and be good. If you don't believe me about Washington, check out a little bit of tape on them before we do the first round show Thursday night. Tell me if I'm crazy or tell me if you're starting to see what I see. The abilities are there. Everything you need them to do, it's all there.
I like it.
You guys be good. Stay good. We'll catch you on Thursday night for the draft special first round.
See you later.
Mr. Happy, did I treat you